This is our entry for senior group performance.
Hi, I'm Rylan Vickers.
I'm Isaac Sammons.
I'm Kainan Johnson.
I'm Elijah Sammons.
And I'm Kaley Hunter. Together we are presenting
The McGavocks.
Veneration of the Confederation.
Civil War, 1864. The Confederate States and the Union States, neither side aware of their fate.
Just 2 miles south of the Union front line lived the McGavock family. Little did they know that the 5-hour bloody battle would forever change them. The McGavocks would begin on a critical undertaking to honor the fallen, resulting in a veneration of the Confederation.
The McGavock Cemetery was not only an honorable tribute to the families of the fallen, but it also served as a renewal of American unity after the brutal tragedy of the South.
November 30th, 1864. I, Mrs. Karen McGavock, my husband John, and our 2 children live here in Franklin, Tennessee. We've lost 3 other children in recent past, which has caused us much grief, especially with our countrymen at odds. The war has come at such a great cost as well. Our boys of the Confederacy must be weary by now.
November 30th, 1864.
Look at us, a handful of devoted braves. We stand by our state and our colors. Ma, here is your proud and noble son. I'll be coming home to you soon.
Oh, my darling, true to promise and trust, on every battlefield the flag you entrust in our hands. Amid shot and shell, bloody battle, and death, I think of you often, my love.
We stopped briefly to rest in the Gap of Hills, our sights upon the city of Franklin. Enemy flags were waving in the breeze, a forced march from Spring Hill, as weary men stumble behind.
Attention! The Yanks are fortified right across the Franklin Pike. We'll have to cut through this here skirt of woods to get to them. Skirmishers ready. Advance. Fire on the left of the Turnpike Road. God be with us.
As a precaution, school has been called off for my children today, so I busied myself with them. Although I've kept a lookout for those Yankees, I feel something in the air. And I told John my concerns, but he tells me not to worry. Those boys will be headed to Nashville, not Franklin. Hurry, children, we must come quickly to the cellar. Come along.
We knew our charge on the enemy works would attend with heavy slaughter. Several men came to me bringing watches, letters, and photographs, asking that I take them, even send them to their families if they were killed. I declined, as I too was going with them, an unknown fate for us all.
Forward, men! Forward! Strike for your altars and your fires, for the green graves of your sires. For God in your native land, forward, men!
The final commands came. Shoulder arms, right shoulder shift, brigade forward, march. The Confederates advance to our last and bloodiest charge.
If we are to die, let us die like men!
The Battle of Franklin. The Death Angel gathers its last harvest.
Daybreak, I came upon the site. Dead were piled up like stacks of wheat, scattered about like sheaves of grain. To walk upon a field of dead bodies without ever stepping upon the ground. It was a miracle any man had escaped alive that night. I had never seen anything like it, and I never want to again.
To describe the scene, a slaughter. Heads, arms, and legs were sticking out in almost every conceivable manner.
I vividly recall the next morning, for I believe that every man that asked I take their belongings home was killed.
We ran up on the line. Dead soldiers fill up the trenches. I never was so terrified in all my life. One can hardly call it battle. Pure destruction.
The Battle of Franklin. Some 10,000 casualties, mostly Confederates. 2,000 laid to rest and 7,000 wounded. A 5-hour tragedy that forever haunted the soldiers. Every building in Franklin became a hospital. Houses, churches, and even barns.
Yes, sir. How may I help you?
Ma'am, we'll use your home as a hospital for these wounded men.
Yes, please, bring them in quickly.
Will I make it? This pain. I can hardly stand it.
You're going to have to bite down on this bullet while the doctor fixes you up.
Ma, you were right, Ma. You're never gonna see your boy again.
There, you poor boy. It's going to be all right. We'll see.
Dearest love, I am writing you from a grand house in Franklin, Tennessee called Carton. Every room is filled. Every bed has two poor pillows. Every hallway and corner under the stairs. All but one room, save for the family here. Doctors are deficient in bandages. The lady of the home has given her old linens, even clothes. All last night she did not sleep, but spends coffee. Unaffrighted by the sight of blood or ghastly death, she walks from room to room. My body may feel defeat, but my heart is glad. For I feel triumph over death these past hours. My very life spared. Be well, your beloved William.
My heart broken. We saved as many as we could. The men wounded and dying, just wanting to go home.
Confederates were pushed back from Nashville, then retreated from Franklin, leaving the wounded behind. 29 soldiers remained at the McGavock home until July of 1865, allowing them full recovery.
Yet what was to become of the fallen? Union soldiers were relocated and given proper burials, but the Confederates, mass graves scattered the battlefield. Wooden posts marked with red paint identified some, but the winter of 1865 was so harsh, citizens snatched up those grave markers and used them as firewood, unaware of their importance.
The defilement of the graves didn't end there. Spring of 1866 brought heavy flooding to the Kainan, causing the men in their shallow graves to float to the surface.
Soldiers were now exposed across Franklin. The solution?
Leave those Confederates there to rot!
Rot! Carrie and John couldn't bear the thought of that.
These brave men, some unknown and now without a resting place, without honor, something must be done.
Indeed, they deserve reverence, Union or Confederate. They are countrymen.
Yes, it would only be proper to bury them here, in the family cemetery.
Oh, yes.
An homage, my darling, for their bravery and dignity. We must care for these Confederates. We must tell their families of their triumph, even until death.
Well, men, we've raised the funds for the Confederate cemetery, and we've hired the help. But what about the land?
I have the land. About 2 acres, sir. I'd like to donate them to your cause.
Well, that settles it. Let's get to work.
Ma'am, I'll put the last Confederate to rest. This your book will tell you the spot where each one of them lays.
Thank you, Mr. Cuppet.
John and Carrie spent the rest of their lives tending to the McGavock Confederate Cemetery. They contacted the families of the fallen soldiers, telling of where they rest.
That tragic night at Franklin forever changed me. I knew it was up to me to be a voice for those Confederate boys, for their families, their homeland, and their country.
The war is over. Time has been healing over the scars ever since, while new growths spring up all the while.
Who was right? Who was wrong? The God above us, who doth all things right, alone surely knows.
As for the soldiers, they triumphantly fought hand to hand.
As for the McGavocks, they gave their home, land, and rest of their lives to honor the soldiers, forever known as defenders, protectors, and advocates, even unto the grave. A veneration of the Confederation.